Welcome to Invercargill in New Zealand's deep south, home to Cycling Southland and the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. Now in its 63rd year, the SBS Bank Tour is one of the country's longest running sporting events and the most prestigious title in New Zealand cycling. The list of past winners is a who's who of New Zealand road racing, and it remains the toughest test of the Kiwi calendar. 108 riders, 18 teams, 7 days, 860 kilometres and only one winner. After Wednesday's trip to the top of Coronet Peak, Thursday's stage loomed as another for the climbers, with Bluff Hill the destination. Summer arrived early as Southland put on another picturesque day, and an early break of 5 riders made the move of the day almost from the get-go. Their lead reached north of 4.5 minutes, but that had been whittled down to just over 2 by the time they turned into the headwind onto Bluff Road. Paul Wright of Central Benchmakers Willbike was the last escapee to be reeled in, 3 kilometres from the finish, and a large bunch hit the bottom of the climb together. Bluff Hill became a battle of the top general classification hopefuls. Tour leader Ida Freire went first, and for the second day in a row would not be denied, powering to another impressive hilltop victory. Southland's Corbin Strong again showed his class to grab second, with defending champ Michael Vink staying in touch in third. Just 47 seconds covers those 3 riders with 2 days remaining. Expect the peloton to throw everything at tour leader Freire and his Kia Motors Ascot Park Hotel team during today's stage to Gore.
So it was a pretty big day in the breakaway. That went away about 5 minutes into the race, and I lasted about 110 k's in there, but I snatched up all the sprint points and did what I was out there to do yesterday, so yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it was a big day out yesterday for me and 4 other of the boys, but it was good fun out there, bit of a kamikaze approach because a bit down on GC.
Well, I think today is going to be a lot of fireworks actually. There's a bit of wind today and we've been lacking that in the last few days. So yeah, I think teams like PowerNet and Placemakers are going to be looking to split it up and set up for the likes of Vink and Alex Heaney and Hamish Shores. So yeah, I think we've just got to be aware of that, be positioned right, and then yeah, if it comes down to it, maybe a late attack or something. Need to find a bit more time somewhere up my sleeve. So yeah, be looking for my opportunities today.
I see the weather will be hard wind today, so a lot of cross chain directions, so it will be hard for sure. I have my team ready. We have a good plan, be in the front, be focused, and it's all.
It's a lot of responsibility helping Vink since he's last year's champion and trying to keep him up there, keep him shouted and making sure everyone else hurts here. Today is probably going to be a lot of gutter action. There's going to be a few attempts at the break early on, and I'd say the pace isn't really going to let off. And even when the pace lets off, I'd say someo's going to ride the front and still ride it quite firm.
Yeah, I've sort of been on the giving end and the receiving end of it in the past, so I know what the difference is between those two, and we're in quite a good position now. We're sort of the hunters rather than the hunted, so I think the whole team's pretty motivated and we're going to go out and give it a all today, and if that doesn't work out, we've still got the TT tomorrow.
Dad's mate lives out on the course today, and he jokingly said if I'm in the break he'll let a few sheep out onto the road to slow them up, but you know, the support's been great from the community, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what I can do.
The kids here at St Teresa's School in Invercargill getting right into it there with their school haka in support of these riders, and of course great support once again out of Invercargill from the schools.
Having experienced the support myself, Julian, it is something you never forget, and the schools, the public support and the general vibe of this whole thing, it's a wonderful week in Southland. We all look forward to it, and it's great to see them all out here again this year in the SBS Bank Tour.
So conditions today quite different to what we've had over the first few days here, with the winds picking up, and we know a number of riders were licking the lips this morning. This could assist with some serious breaks to happen in the stage to Gore, which we've seen in the past, Doug.
We saw it on day one, and we've had a wee lull in the weather conditions. It has been wet, but today is the acid test, and the acid test is how many of these riders can shelter in this group, how many of them can sit on wheels, and what are the major contenders in this race going to do in order to nullify the effects of being split up into these crosswinds. It is going to be hell out there.
having the experience of being able to ride in these sorts of winds will certainly play a part when it comes to this particular stage, I would suggest, because there's a lot of turns these guys have to make throughout the day, and they're going to have to watch up ahead, see which direction they're going to be moving into to place themselves particularly well in the bunch.
That's exactly correct, Julian, and it really is all of the tools in the toolbox as a stage race. You've got to be able to climb, time trial, ride a crosswind, ride in the wet, cope with the heat, cope with all the tactics, and the Tour of Southland has got those all combined into one stage. So the front group here with Hamish Keese, the local rider riding for the Placemakers team, of course there is a Kia Motors rider there, and they're all starting to come up, you can see.
I think he's telling his team, Doug, this is interesting. He's telling his team, I'm up here, buddy. That stay back there. It's okay. I've got things under control. So he's going forward here. And it looks like Nick White, number 12 from the Ascot Park Hotel team, the Kia Motors boys, who's decided he's going to be the man that's, for today, going to be sent forward in this break. So an interesting manoeuvre to let the team know. Have they actually discussed this? It's a bit confusing already early in the stage.
You've got to be able to adapt on the fly here. And you can see that the Kia Motors team, the Placemakers team, both nominated, which takes a wee bit of the heat off the likes of the tour leader here, Ida Freyre, but there's still going to be some more chess on wheels as we go along. We're still just out of the lumps and bumps coming out of the outskirts of town. Once we hit the sort of the Aredi Plains, things are really going to heat up.
So as they drop down towards Makarewa here, this group still trying to establish themselves off the front, and but this is the second group now that have snuck themselves off the front of the peloton and trying to get themselves through to that front group with Keast & Co. Not very well organised by the looks of it though, Doug, as they adjust to the wind.
Helter-skelter, and this is one of the aspects as a stage rider you've got to be able to coordinate and work and manipulate things around. All of a sudden you look up and there's 25 riders up the road. It's a heck of a group. They get organised. Next thing you know, you've got a situation on your hands out of your control with riders you weren't expecting to be there.
So it's a large group, not necessarily a good thing to be in. So it's Business South that have been given the job on the front, with PowerNet just tucked in behind them, trying to get themselves across to a relatively large group, Doug, in these crosswinds here today, which, as we said, and that is not necessarily a good thing to be involved with here, as we see a number of riders can actually sit in and not have to do too much.
Compounding with the fact that we are on the second to last day of this stage race, and as these days go on, the fatigue factor ramps up exponentially. So there'll be some hurt in some of these legs. You can see here there's a lot of chaps looking around saying, hey, can you come through, give us a turn? The mind may be willing, but the legs certainly may not be.
So this is our third chasing group already in a short space of time out of Invercargill, and it's got the sprint ace in there with Tom Sexton trying to get himself across. As we look back to the peloton, they've decided to shut things on down. It is the Placemakers team who have placed themselves comfortably towards the front. Here come the men with the yellow jersey and the red, the Kia Motors Ascot Park Hotel team, getting themselves settled towards the front. So the rest of that peloton knows, well, this is the way it's going to roll here for quite some time yet, or hopefully they suggest that might be the way it'll go.
Dead right, and this is where the hurt can really come on. You can see now there's a chasing group starting to form up to catch that second group up on the road, and once these two groups amalgamate, you've got a fairly powerful force. If they coordinate themselves and all start rolling through, you can see them all sitting up waiting. Back in that chasing group, you can see the Placemaker squad are putting everyone across onto the inside of the road. Of course, you've got the whole use of the road with the police and traffic management systems as we go along, so you can use the whole road up, but the Placemakers team are really putting everyone over into that other shoulder, no shelter, and it's going to be tough.
Yes, these leaders here, I'd suggest we've got about a third of the field that have been allowed to escape off the front. And the only classification jersey in amongst them there is the sprint ace, as we see the likes of Hamish Keast here, the second in the under-23 club time trial championships. He's got some good form along with his teammate there, James Harvey, of course, who was yellow man on the first couple of days of this tour here. So they've been placed into this break as we come towards one of the sprints into Drummond.
Yeah, there's a lot of communicating going on. You can see there the sprint ace rider who's cleaning up more points again. He'll be pretty happy about that, young Sexton. He's obviously targeted that jersey. But there's a lot of communication starting to happen. There's a lot of talk. And you can see now that lead gap with James Fouché at the front is now over 5 minutes.
So here is the chasing group, and what a change of what was going on with the bodies now. These guys look to be set to put a bit of pressure on here. Right up against the guttering, it is the Placemakers team, and just in the background there, we can see the yellow jersey along with the peloton desperately trying to get on. This is like a team time trial. It's like being back on day one, Doug.
Very, very organised here from the Placemakers team, really isolating out the Kia Motors squad and really, really putting the hurt in. You can see the tour leader, he has been drifted off the back. That's Campbell Stewart there, that's just tucked into the back of these Placemakers riders. This is critical. He's got to get across, and it's got to happen shortly.
Look at the peloton, Doug, disappearing out the back door here, and the only men that are able to try and get themselves on, that are not quite there yet, are 3 of the classification jerseys. And that, or it might only be the 2 actually. I thought we had Paul Odlin there for a moment, but no, it's actually the yellow and the pink, the men in first and second overall here, with Freyre and of course Corbin Strong of Southland. The Southland Hope gets himself onto the back here of the Placemakers train, but these guys aren't too concerned who's there. They are just settling into it. This looks like a well-planned move.
Back with the lead group here, they're rolling along in a nice coordinated fashion, and obviously they're in a situation where they are the hunted, not the hunters. Further back though, carnage is starting to happen, and you can see now the tour leader is in all sorts of strife.
Yes, the tour leader has been absolutely isolated here, and he's on the train of the Placemakers team. Alex Heaney also in the mix there with him. He'll be trying to get himself in this break, because that could put him into some serious contention for the general classification.
And there you have it, Julian. It is now game over. Ida Freyre, the Mexican riding for the Kia Motors Ascot Park Hotel team, has sat up. That is the race over for the yellow jersey for him. He'll have a drink, he'll have a wee commiserate with himself, he'll get back into that group further back, but that is a sterling effort. He's had a magnificent couple of days, but his yellow jersey days have just finished.
That was an outstanding piece of team racing, but of course they've got a lot of work still to do here, as we said, into team time trial mode, because they've still got a gap to make up to get to the front of the race. And here we are at 65k an hour, and it is the defending champion Michael Vink, not sitting back allowing the team to do it all. He's right in there in the mix and driving things.
He has shown some real experience. He won this race last year on the back of that. He's ridden us a lot of times and has missed out. But Michael Vink is really, really showing what it means to win this SBS Bank Tour. You've got to be on the job every day. You can't drop a day, and you can't have a bad period along the way anywhere. And it comes back to bite you. So these guys now that are the chasing group and are really, really in no man's land in some ways, but have done so much damage that I don't think anyone from behind is ever going to catch back up.
There's a lot of track experience, of course, in these guys. Of course, Michael Vink, a former New Zealand representative on the track. You've got Dylan Kennett, who is a member of the endurance squad on the track. This is their sort of cup of tea. They love to roll hard at this sort of pace here, and you can see now they're about to make connection with the remnants of the front group. They've split in half, and this is the back half of them, looking at some of the colours that are in here. So what are they going to do here, Doug? Are they going to go on to the back? No, thanks very much. The train is on its way. We're going to continue straight around the outside, and these guys that are seeing them will be just in absolute awe.
Michael Vink and this whole Placemaker squad have really, really hit the stage with the mission. I believe they've had some pre-planning here, obviously to set up a strategy in order to get this situation and to manifest it out on the road. They're going to drill this as hard and as long as they can here in order to maximise that time between not only the leaders, Jersey Ida Freyre, but also Corbin Strong, who was in second. So they're going to try and put as much time as they possibly can in.
Meanwhile, at the front of the race, Hamish Shrew is here. Now, this man is all out to try and get the yellow jersey. This is why he's in the lead group. He knows this is an opportunity for him to try and steal the march on the likes of Vink. So he'll be aware that this chasing group is starting to make some inroads into the big gap between them. So he'll be desperate to try and get himself a yellow.
Yeah, and this was the remnants of that group we saw them just catch. They are quickly blowing out. You can see a bit of communication going on, a pat on the back, a slight touch of a shoulder, a call it in, and next thing you know, you've got a rolling train. They'll really relish having a wee bit of extra help, these guys, because they've been on the hammer now for well over half the stage. So this will be a real relief for these guys, but can they catch these leaders?
Ollie Jones of PowerNet rolling on through. He's been a man we've seen constantly throughout this tour. Hamish Shrew, as I said, virtual leader on the road. He'll be desperate to try and keep those guys at bay. Of course, Diveston's in amongst this group as well. They are in contention for the top two in GC if they can hold out
still with the chase group. You can see the placemakers team are still that coordinating. They've called James Harvey back to aid that challenge from that front group, and there'll be a lot of chat here going on in order to coordinate this chasing, and it'll be another member for them to get in the mix.
In fact, Doug, I think they've got 2 riders. They've got Hamish Keast, who's also come back here from that front group. So they've been away all morning, but they've had the nod from the management. Come on back, boys. We want to drive this. We want to get to the front of the race. This could be the serious move, the defining move for Vink to try and get himself a yellow jersey.
They've got a lot of work ahead of them.
So Dylan Kennett, just listening into him there, absolutely going to riot over the whole team here, but in particular one of the men right at the very front, I think was Harvey, just reminding him that we have a cadence that we're actually trying to set here. So again, giving an indication there was a set plan. They know the sort of pace that they have to set. They've got the computers, they've got the Garmins, it'll tell them their power, it'll tell them their cadence, you name it. They've got all the technology available to them. They know what has to be pushed out there if they are to ensure they can get across the gap to that leading group.
Desperation, of course, they really need to get across here in order for their plan to completely come to fruition. They've got to get to the front of the race. So back in this lead group, you can see there's still quite a lot of guys still rolling around. There's one of the Creation Signs Rico team. That's Case Diverston from Dunedin. He's had a pretty good tour this year. Had a wee bit of bad luck early on, but he's rolling through. It's good to see these guys coming back from the Creation Signs team. They'll be looking for a stage.
Well, we look to the next shot here, and we've lost a few of the boys from placemakers now. So it is down to the likes of Ethan Batt, a former club road champion, Harvey, the man that was in yellow a few days ago. We've also got, of course, the man from Power Nets, Alex Heaney, who's been consistent over the last few days and knows that if he can hold on to this train, he could be moving further up in the general classification. Meanwhile, Doug, back in the peloton, the yellow leading them through.
Yeah, this is damage control here. They'll be trying to minimise any loss they can. You can see there Corbin Strong, the Southland rider. He'll be bitterly disappointed with missing that break, as will the whole entire Fruzio team and the Kia Motors team. But all they can do is sit and watch this roll up the road. There's a couple of lumps and bumps before they get to Gore, and it looks and appears that Michael Vink and his placemakers train have hit the back of the lead of this race. What an astonishing ride.
Yes, so just out of Mataura here on some of the rolling hills, they've made their way towards the front, and again you can see that front group just absolutely in shock and awe of what's just come on through.
And the outskirts of Gore are now await. This is the Creation Signs Ronald McDonald House rider Theo Gilbertson from Auckland, sneaking away from that lead group, trying to take the points, and his bid for stage glory. You go up this Broughton Street climb, quite steep and quite long, carries on over the top. These boys have had such a long day, and they are back on the front again. You've got to hand it to them. This is one of the more dramatic stages we've seen in the SBS Bank Tour in a long time, Julian.
Absolutely a fantastic team effort indeed, and this man here, he's just going for the stage victory. Well, not just, that's what he's desperately trying to do. It's a huge achievement to do in any SBS Bank Tour. But look at Harvey. This man has done a power of work all week long, and he is back on the front once again to drive these guys through. With Shrill is just tucked in behind him. Then we've got the likes of Heaney, Michael Vink staying very close to them before they approach the climb.
Yeah, they've really put every egg in the basket, and the plan that they obviously had before the start of this stage has come to fruition. They've still got a wee bit of work to do. They'll be driving this group as hard as they can, but it's the Auckland rider Gilbertson from the Creation Signs team. He is trying to stay away, but it looks like he's going to be caught, and it's one of the other riders from the Petrotech team that's sneaking up Broughton Street, trying to stay away. Sam Guest, the Christchurch rider, but the whole thing has just been such a dramatic stage. I don't think anyone's going to get away here.
No, they're watching each other extremely closely here. They try and pick up a few points over the climb, but it's all about the stage victory here now as they try and set themselves up. Don't forget, of course, last year it was Piccoli who escaped off the front here at this point in time and took the stage out. But I think these guys are going to track each other extremely closely over the closing couple of kilometres.
Yeah, cat and mouse. The Broughton Street climb can sap your legs, and this stage finish into Gore's not that far after. It's quite a quick descent. So a lot of these riders will be making sure they're in the right position and in the right spot. You don't want to get gapped across this climb, and they're all holding the wheels for grim death here. This is a really tough part of this stage.
and there's a mixture of teams involved here, that's for sure, and they'll be wanting to get out there for their particular sponsors. So we see the Base Solutions Racing team, they're up there. The Kia Motors, of course, they've still got Nick White, who's hovering about.
Yeah, the stage finish into Gore is very, very, very fast, and the riders will be really, really keen to see this finish line. It's one of the Vet for Farm riders, one of the Swiss boys has just jumped away. There's been a lot of this going on. This is a really, really big move here from this big Swiss rider. He's pinned it back and he's having a bid for glory. He's not going to wait for a sprint. There's a K to go. It's super quick. It'll be a huge tailwind for him, and it looks like he's stolen the march.
This is a great gap. I think possibly it's Adrian Merck, but we can't just quite pick up his number here. But as you said, the team from Switzerland, all 6 riders, can they finally take a stage victory here? But there is some manoeuvres happening back there with Base Solutions Racing, with the likes of Jordan Kirby trying to shut the things down. And sitting right tucked nicely is number 12, Kia Motors, Ascot Park's Nick White. And they're going to shut him down, Doug. Oh, with only about 400 metres to go, the Swiss rider is about to be caught here by the leading group.
That is really, really tragic for the Swiss rider, but it looks like the rider from the Kia Motors squad, Nick White, he's set himself up and is in position. He's got a good finish on him. You can see them here all exploding for the finish now. It's all on.
And Nick White sits down on the right-hand side. Power Net's in the mix as well, but White is starting to open up a huge gap on the field here. He's feeling good. He's going to raise the hands in victory. Nick White will take out the Matera Licensing Trust Stage 5 here at the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. But the Placemakers team are absolutely ecstatic because they know the bigger prize is on the horizon, taking out the yellow jersey. And speaking of which, here comes the man from Mexico, disappointed some 7 minutes down. That is all over some of the GC hopefuls. Michael Vick, the defending champion, moves himself to the top of the leaders board on the penultimate day here of the SBS Bank Tour of Southland, 2 minutes 6 over Heaney and Schreuers. While Tom Sexton of Southland continues to extend his lead in the Harcourt Sprint Ace over Jones and Fouché. Ollie Jones moves himself into the Jesco Hydraulics King of the Mountains with 35 points over Fuller and the previous tour leader Freyu. Reuben Thompson of Queenstown now moves himself into the Henderson Construction Under 23 after being in the main move of the day. As we've seen all week, it is still Paul Odlin of the PowerNet team who leads the Stonewood Homes silver jersey category. Hamish Schreuers, the virtual leader on the road for some time today, was awarded the most combative rider. PowerNet, after an outstanding effort from all the team today, moved themselves well and truly into the lead of the Wednesday Cycles team classification over Kia Motors and Team Skoda Fruzio.
Yeah, it's a very satisfying way to take the yellow jersey, and I certainly can't thank the team enough. It's definitely because of all their hard work that this was able to happen today, and everyone played their job to perfection, so they can all be very proud of what happened today. Yeah, I mean, I also know that anything can happen in this tour. You know, I've lost this tour with a bigger lead before, so I'm certainly not going to rest. We'll definitely have a good sleep tonight, good recovery, and then be ready to go tomorrow again.
Here's your SBS Bank yellow jersey holder, Michael Vick, the Placemakers.
Follow the action from this historic race with live race updates, full results and pictures at www.tourofsouthland.com.